216 Creator Studios, your gateway to professional podcasting. Whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just starting, 216 Creator Studios offers state-of-the-art podcast studios designed to meet all your recording needs. From crystal clear audio quality to a comfortable creative space, we've got you covered. With fully equipped rooms, expert support, and flexible booking options, you can focus on what matters most, your content. Join us and bring your voice to life in the best environment for podcast creation. 216 Creator Studios is here to help you create something extraordinary.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Cappuccino behind the screen on another great episode of Roger That Chronicles. Hey, listen, if you like what you see here today, make sure you go to the old Google box, click on that YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, subscribe at 216 Creator Studios. Ding that bell for future notifications. We do appreciate your support. Hey, listen, it doesn't get any crazier than two Navy men, a Marine with a box of crayons, and then a mom of a Marine. Welcome to Roger That Chronicles. This is going to be a great show. I'm super excited. Chris, always great to see you. How are things?
Oh, it's going pretty well. Trying to keep up with this weather. It's been pretty crazy.
Yeah. Somebody's got to let God know the thermostat's broken because it's hot one day, right? And then it's like snowing.
It's like four seasons in one weekend.
It's the Midwest for you. Chicago, weather and construction. So what are we doing today? I'm going to pass you the ball. You run with it. What are we doing?
Very good. So hello, everyone. I'm Chris Possum with New Life Ministry and Outreach. Big, long mouthful. We go by NLMNO, Organization for Vets. So we are continuing our Navy series, and I have a co-host today, Rick. He is a sergeant of the Marine Corps.
I was.
He was.
I served from 74 to 80, and as a Marine Guard on embassy duty, served in Prague, Czechoslovakia, and Athens, Greece. As you know, was NCOIC at the detachment in Athens. Served 20 years as a police officer, all those good type of things. So been around the block a little bit.
More importantly, you were the original host.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, not most important, but I was one of the hosts of Roger That Chronicles when we first started this endeavor. What, about 2 years ago? Yeah, about 2 years ago now. So yeah, fantastic. It's good to be back.
Yes, we're glad that you're back.
Thank you.
Glad. And I especially wanted you to come on because you are a Marine and we've got Navy Corpsmen today. So we have next to me is Phil Sweeney, who is a Navy Corpsman second class, and Larry Taing, who's retired Fleet Marine Force Corpsman. So Larry, why don't you go ahead and start and just share a little bit about your journey?
Yeah. So I did 20 years in the U.S. Navy. Joined in 2003 at the age of 17. I had to get my mom's permission to sign just to go to boot camp.
Oh, wow.
So pretty crazy. I knew I wanted to join because, 9/11 happened and I was a junior going on to my senior year of high school. And with everything going on, seeing that live, it was just that kind of cemented my, me wanting to go in and serve, do my time in. And so I went to boot camp here in Great Lakes. That was 8 weeks long, I believe. I couldn't remember. It's been so long ago now. So yeah. yeah. So here in Great Lakes, and then moved on to Corpsman A school here in Great Lakes as well, literally right up the road from boot camp, the Naval Hospital when it was still here. After I did that, I went on to Field Medical Training Battalion. It used to be called FMSS. And that's where you go on to learn all the basically the follow-on schools of learning how to be a combat medic with the Marines.
So you learned all the Marine stuff.
Learned all the Marine stuff.
So he went to like the Navy boot camp?
Yeah.
And then we part of the FMSS or FMF school is an introduction to the Marine Corps boot camp, where we didn't have to do anything unusual like crawl around in the mud, but we did most of that exercises and learned the terminology. And
I'm sorry, guys, crawling around in the mud was not unusual for us.
I think that was his point.
Right, yeah. No, I mean,
They didn't have to do that. They didn't get the full experience.
Well, actually, we ended up having to do that in field med. So
Wow.
with a dummy patient. So we crawled through a trench basically full of water, like having to carry a patient through. It was like an obstacle course for us that we had to perform, and like doing triage along the way with our patient. Our mock patient.
Did you go to FMF at Lejeune?
I went to the one in Lejeune, so it was Camp Johnson.
I went Pendleton.
So yeah, the one I went
crawl through the sand.
Yeah, I think the mud and water is a little better, except for the mosquitoes. It was North Carolina, so it was extremely humid. One of the worst places to be.
No kidding.
Love the area though, but it's not always a great time because of the humidity. So
And it gets humid in the Carolinas.
And yes, it does.
I mean,
yes,
breath,
it does.
take your breath away. Humid.
Yeah, you can literally take a shower in the morning, walk out the door, you're already drenched in sweat.
Right.
That's how bad it was. I went to so after all that, went to my first duty station, and I was actually on a ship first, on an aircraft carrier, and that was the USS Theodore Roosevelt. That was a CVN 71.
Yep.
Did my time on there. Did a Mediterranean cruise, so I got to see the world. Our ship deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom at the time, and I got to see the world while doing it. Hit up a bunch of ports. I got to go to Italy, got to go to Spain, Greece, Turkey, Dubai at the time. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And then and then I had to really do my job after I got back. Went to transferred over to North Carolina from Norfolk, Virginia, and went to got stationed with the Marines for the first time, and it was kind of like a realization, because we're at war now, in Iraq, and the wars were just picking up, and it was pretty tough,
pretty intense,
especially being an 18-year-old kid who right after high school just trying to just make it through each day. So
right, exactly. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Phil?
Well, I have quite the long story. I was in for 4 years. Well, I did some reserve time when I got out of the service. I went into college and did some reserve time for some weekend money. It wasn't too hard on the reserve end of it. But I went in. I went to junior college 1 year after I got out of high school and completely bombed out the grade wise. But I was on the championship football team. I was wrestling, and I wasn't getting good grades. So I thought it would be best to my life experiences to join the Navy, because I had met some people and heard their great stories about going to foreign places, just like Larry over here. And I signed up, and they give you tests. They go, "What do you want to do?" And they give you a list of stuff. And I go, "I'd like to be by the beach and the nurses." So they go, "Corpsman's a great job." I go, "What's that, medic?" I go, "I could do that. I like rescuing people and things." So I middle of winter, I joined up in the Navy, and first week of January, I'm living in the Chicago area, and they go, your boot camp is going to be in Orlando. And they call Orlando boot camp Mickey Mouse boot camp. They no longer have that boot camp there anymore.
No, definitely not.
But I did go to Disney when I was down there. And then my boot camp was down there. I happened to get out of boot camp right at spring break time, which was about this time of year. And I had a bunch of buddies that were down at Daytona Beach for a spring break, and they came to boot camp graduation and completely embarrassed me, which was a lot of fun. And then they go, hey, where are you going to go for next week? Because you don't have to be in California for corpsman school for a week. And I go, I'm going to hit Daytona Beach. So I did spring break after boot camp.
Wow.
That's kind of like how my career went.
Completely different experience.
Different experience. I get to boot camp or corpsman school. Corpsman school could have been Chicago, Great Lakes.
Right.
And I got San Diego.
How did you end up over there?
I think it was United Airlines.
Well, good.
I think it
We got to
needs-
promote
needs
it.
a
I
Navy,
didn't know,
yeah.
right?
I like it goes from one coast to the other coast.
Well, I know usually the Marines are separated. If you're on the side of the Mississippi, you go.
You know, my recruiter did good.
Okay.
I was okay.
I
with
said I
that.
want to go to California. I don't want to go to
Oh,
Lejeune.
and what do you do when you're on leave and we were in San Diego with the sailors? We did a little trip to Tijuana.
Of course.
Of course, that's where I smuggled in my switchblade. I thought I was going to get in trouble walking across in the United States with a switchblade, but I guess they really didn't care. And
So your partying just continued.
I still have the switchblade. And after corpsman school, they decide where you go. Part of it's based on your grades. Part of it's based on the questions they ask you. What do you want to do in your military career? Do you like camping? Do you like hiking? I go, yeah, I like those things. They go, okay, you're going to be with the Marines because they like camping and hiking. So I get sent over to Camp Pendleton. It's beautiful there. It's the Del Mar area. It sounds really beachy. It's a camp, right? Camp Pendleton.
Camp.
Yeah, and it's right next to Oceanside, California. So I did try surfing in Oceanside, California, but that's when you got, hey, now you're in the Marine Corps, guys. They got guys with guns. They got live weapons. They make you run and they yell at you. So it sounded like how I grew up. So it was pretty good. It wasn't that tough for me because I was already in good condition. I was playing football and wrestled, and it wasn't as hard on me as other people.
Right.
The attitudes of these drill instructors were crazy, though. They're mean, and then because I'm a Navy guy, I'm looking at this guy. He's an alien to me with a funny hat, and I go, I would just ever have your dog look at you and turn its head sideways after you said something to it? That was usually like every day I was doing that. What? Really? So I get orders then to Okinawa. I go, Okinawa? It's like Japan. It's really cool. Okinawa is right now, if you go there, it's a resort area. But back in 1977, when I was there, it was pretty rough. The plumbing was horrible. We slept in big barracks, open barracks. They were probably built out of the World War II or something. Nothing was modern. Like they had windows that opened, but no air conditioning. They had a lot of bugs. We would catch geckos and put them in the huts. So at nighttime, the geckos would eat all the mosquitoes. And then the next day we'd have to catch geckos again because they would run out the open windows in the morning.
That's pretty creative. That's pretty creative.
It was learned from other people that had been there that shared the experiences with us. We were getting ready for this thing called Team Spirit America, which South Korea liked it, North Korea didn't. We did a fake beach invasion like D-Day with the ships and the helicopters and the landing crafts. I was in a landing craft, and we invaded the beach. This is what the Fleet Marine Force does. They have boats that specialize in helicopters and landing crafts, and they pull up and they drop you on the beach, and we just run up that beach like it was Save It Private Ryan, but no one was shooting at us. So it was, I felt okay. And we stayed there. We did some winter training where they had the Winter Olympics 10 years ago in Korea. Then we left. We went over after we were there, we did some cold weather training. We went over to the Philippines, so from R&R at Christmas time. We went to mainland Japan because we stayed at Mount Fuji for a month. At the base of it, I was going to hike Mount Fuji. Ever see that in the Japanese pictures? A perfectly formed volcano, and usually you see it has snow on the top. Well, the day before I was going to hike it, there was no snow on the top, and the day I had off to hike it, snow came in. They closed down the mountain, so that's still on my bucket list. If anyone wants to sponsor me to go climb Mount Fuji. So they had this match, a wrestling match. It was the Navy against the Marines. It's like it was a competition match. They had boxing and they had wrestling. And so I signed up for wrestling because I had some experience with it. And within 1 minute, the guy, who was a Marine, came over and whacked my arm by my shoulder, and my arm fell out of its joint. So that ended my time of wrestling, and it ended my time of being very aggressive physically for a while because my arm was not in place. And they decided to operate on it. And so they sent me back from Okinawa. They sent me to Scott Air Force Base to get operated on, and they sent me to Great Lakes Navy Base. Now I'm at Great Lakes.
Yeah.
So I'm at Great Lakes Navy Base at the hospital, which was still there at the time. And they put me on medical hold while I was doing R&R, or not R&R, physical therapy.
Right.
Which was like weightlifting, but it was R&R and stretching. And I got a job in the orthopedic clinic, and they kept me in there on medical hold for a couple months. And the surgeon liked me and said, "You want to work in our clinic as you'll be a medical hold patient, and that'll enable everyone else to have an extra day off." So we were all on 4-day work weeks, and I was in there just on medical hold, recouping my shoulder. And all of a sudden, softball season started, and got on the softball team, and we were the base champs. And they continued me on medical hold, and then football season started. Yeah, and I go out and I'm playing football, and I'm still on medical hold, and we're the base champions. And the surgeon's going, "Really good. Hey, I'm being transferred." The surgeon said, I go, "Uh-oh." Then 2 weeks later, a new guy's in charge, and I got orders someplace else. And it happened to be Sardinia, Italy, which is an island in the coast of the Mediterranean. It's a resort area. I'm not with the Marines anymore. I'm with the real Navy. We're on boats and stuff. But this island is 1 mile by 3 mile, and it's off the coast of Rome, about 50 miles off the coast of Rome. And it's where the Italians went and vacationed and stuff. And I'm there, and they're looking for someone to work part-time at the marina. And I go, "I used to lifeguard." Now I'm lifeguarded. Well, I'm doing eye checks and height and weight checks and blood pressures in the morning, and in the afternoon I'm working at the marina. And what do they have as my rescue boat? A water ski boat. And if you go out 1 mile off this, or one foot off this island, it's a foot deep, and you go out 10 feet, it's 10 feet deep. You go out 100 feet, it's 100 feet. You go out a mile, it's about a mile deep. So you needed a rescue boat to rescue anybody. And so from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock every day, me and a couple other guys, we'd go water skiing. And then they decommissioned the ship after about a year. But we made some trips over to Genoa, Italy, Naples, Italy, Barcelona, Spain. They were called like R&R things. They went to make sure this ship that was built in 1943 could still move. And it did slowly. They were going to decommission the ship. That's how I got orders there in the first place. So 9 months into it, they send the ship back to Norfolk, Virginia, also known as No Fun, Virginia.
Yeah, it's boring.
Isn't that the truth?
But it's right by Virginia Beach. And we got there, and I'm sitting there 10 days, what they call awaiting orders. Your ship, they decommissioned it, which is a big deal in the Navy for decommissioning a ship. But I'm waiting orders, and all of a sudden the orders come, "Phil, you're going back to the Fleet Marine Force. Welcome to Camp Lejeune." So I've been to Pendleton, I've been to Okinawa, to Schwab and Hansen, and now I'm at Lejeune, and I'm back in a rifle company, which is rifle company, that means you're in infantry. You're the one medic among 12 Marines in their squad, and you're living with them, you're showering with them, you're eating with them, you're going out and hanging with them after hours and stuff. And when I got those orders to Camp Lejeune, I had about 100 days left in the service. And I'm thinking I went from the greatest place in Italy to have beaches. The college that was 5 miles down the street from us, on the mainland of another island, was mostly girls that hung out at the beach. And the Italian beaches, well, they were very nice when you're in the Navy and you have beautiful beaches to go to. So when I got back to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, I'm going, what the hell happened here? I was the best, and now I'm like, is it the worst? It's probably the worst.
It's miserable. It's pretty miserable out there.
It is.
Yeah.
And they were building up a battalion because they needed the first wave of people to go in case there was a problem around the world. And then I get my 100 days and they go, would you like to re-enlist? I go, where would I be stationed? They go, you'd be stationed right here. I go, where's the exit? Then I got out and went to college. And then college led to marriage, led to 6 kids, led to a divorce, led to me now just having a nice life.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I can say, as being a Marine, one of the people or the group of people that we would protect probably the most would be our corpsmen. And primarily we knew that our corpsmen were, on a field of battle was our life and death. And normally you guys would know, like in recruit training, we learned trauma type of first aid. You got a broken leg and how to splint it, stop the bleeding, get the, breathing again and all this good stuff. Like we did it. We played it up, but not to anywhere near the capacity and the knowledge that you guys were trained. My younger brother was a Navy corpsman. And he worked at a Navy hospital where they delivered babies. He held the hands of a General Roberts, I think his name was, really well known from World War I and World War II. Medal of Honor, I think he was recipient. And the old man died, and my brother was holding his hand, saying goodbye to him. They played chess for months before this old man died of a cancer. So really a heroic individual, that sort of thing. So you guys were a significant proportion of our history. Give you an example of the respect that we revered for you folks. We were doing a fundraiser, Marine Corps League here in town. And we're handing out the flags and, give me $5, $20, whatever. And we build up our cachet of funds and so forth so we can survive as a group. And we're standing at the door outside of a Walmart kind of thing. And here comes this elderly gentleman, could barely get out of the car. His wife was just as frail as he was. And he started walking toward us. And I noticed he had a cover. We call them covers. He had a hat, USMC, really neat looking hat, well-groomed and so on. And I looked at my buddy and says, gentlemen, take a look. We got a Marine coming over here. And as he come over, I said, Semper Fi, brother. Walked over, put my hand out. He goes, I wasn't in the Marine Corps. I was in the Navy. And I said, what's the cover for? He goes, I was a corpsman. I said, oh, you were Navy. And that's when all of us perked right up. Navy corpsman? Oh, that's like revered.
Yeah.
So I said, where did you serve, sir? Iwo Jima. And then he stood and I looked at him and I said, oh, wow, you saw a lot. And I saw this strong man melt. He saw a lot. Everyone knows about Iwo Jima. Thousands of Marines were killed on that island and fighting the Japanese. It was the only battle in World War II where more Marines were killed than our enemy. Usually it's the other way around. But these Navy corpsmen, I can't even imagine what they had experienced and survived through that on that island. And I saw this guy. I walked over and just hugged him, and he bawled like a baby. And then I looked at his wife. So I'm sorry, look, but this is where we have this high degree of respect and admiration for you guys that served in the as corpsmen, serving along with Marines and everything else. And I'm sure the Army feels the same way about their medics and this and that. But Marines, we hold a special place in our hearts for you guys.
And
So-
there was this appreciation. There's this thing called field day at the barracks, and that means everyone's got to pitch in and clean up the place.
Chinese field day.
And on field
What do
day,
you call it?
Wait, they call it, well, for when I went through, they call it Chinese field day.
Chinese field day? Well,
Yeah.
we just call it field day.
we call it field
Yeah.
day. Yeah, and so they would tell the corpsmen, leave, get out of here. You're not part of field day. We'll take care of it.
Right.
So then we go over to the Navy site and they make us clean up
Yeah.
in the medical clinics. Like, thanks.
I
Now, when
remember-
you guys served on board, of course, back in your day, you probably remember Marines being on board ships during that time. You said you were on.
Well, I
Roosevelt.
was on the there wasn't any Marines on the Roosevelt at all. We had our own master at arms, so they usually took care of security. But on when I was on the USS Baton during the my 2009-2010 deployment with the 22nd MU, we had Marines who were, it was all of us, all the Marines. It was so for the USS Baton that I was on, we had it was our headquarters company, our weapons company, and Lima company. From 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines. So we were, it was just those three companies on board that ship at the time. And, we kind of integrated into the ship doing the same, like when we're out to sea, we're doing the same duties as they were. Like we had people in the field mess, helping wash dishes and stuff. And then.
Just curious, when you were on the Roosevelt, did you ever do a stop in Halifax in Nova Scotia?
No, we did not. No,
Okay.
not during my time, at least.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what
our
I
first
toured.
stop,
That's where I toured the.
Oh, okay.
Roosevelt.
Yeah.
I was on the Eisenhower back in 79, and it came off the coast of Athens, Greece. And of course, they didn't tie her in alongside.
No,
She
yeah,
was
we
out,
didn't. Yeah.
And you boated in. So we went out. They invited us to come out and do a tour. So we were with the Marines and everything else on the Eisenhower. During that time, Marines guarded the captain's quarters. They guarded the nuclear power plant, the bank, and they also took care of the brig. And so we were going through that. And ironically, where the Marines were on board the ship was right next to the big hatch where you go down below and there's all this food. So these guys had a free access to all the chow, So, but their brig, I couldn't believe that the way that they actually did the 30-day bread and water type of routine. And somebody got into major trouble or whatever. And they had guys in the cell block, and that was quite an experience.
Yeah.
to see
Pretty, yeah.
But then I heard they eventually ridded the naval ships with Marines, and they put naval personnel in that place.
That's basically how it ran, like at least in the early 2000s.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So everything kind of started shifting, and then most of the Marines were getting deployed to war zones during that time, and then Navy people were Navy personnel were taking care of the ship.
Right.
So
Right. Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So that was a tradition that goes way back.
Yeah.
Having Marine on board naval vessels, providing the police force on board
security,
the ship.
you were the
Yeah,
security team.
the security teams. Right.
The ship I was on, the Howard W. Gilmore, AS-16, if you want to look it up, we had no security detail. We had nothing, no Marines.
Well, I understood they only had Marines on board the flag type of vessels or the bigger ones, not on all of them. So if it was a supply boat or something like that, they wouldn't. Oh, sorry, I call it a boat.
That's okay.
I don't know. Navy gets all bent right out of shape. You call it a boat because you want it to be called ships. So one fella goes, "Hey, what do you call that?" Well, that's what you call a gunboat.
Why does cargo go by boat and shipment goes by train?
Just don't hit me. Don't throw anything. I got crayons over here. I'll throw it right back.
I guess no tough questions.
Fantastic. So you were on the MEUs. What did you do?
I was so during the time I was a senior line corpsman for a weapons company. So I was basically the lead corpsman for my company, overseeing I think it was roughly 10 to 11 other junior corpsmen beneath me, and we just kind of did different operations. We did a lot of cross training with different militaries during the MEU. So we trained with the Hellenic forces of Greece, Jordanians and Egyptians. Yeah, we participated in what's called Operation Bright Star, and it was where we did a mock beach landing, kind of what he did off the coast of Egypt. So we actually got to ride on LCACs, which is a landing craft, like landing utility crafts, like hovercrafts. So that's what they were.
We landed on old World War II thing.
No, we didn't have that.
Higgins boats.
So we actually had so we had some of the LCACs had tanks basically tied down to the, like, I think you could fit like 2 tanks on one of those things. But for my company, we had just our Humvees all strapped down. And then right when the doors came down, we just all ran off and like set up security around on the beach.
Those things were some noisy.
They're noisy, and some people get seasick, especially when you hit rough waters. Like, because when we used to get picked up over at Onslow Beach, sometimes like the ship would actually come up, anchor offshore off Onslow Beach, and LCACs would come onto the beach, and then we would load up all our vehicles, all our Humvees onto the LCACs, and then basically ride like the 15-20 minutes it took to get to the ship, into their area where we can offload all the vehicles and anchor down all the LCACs.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but we got to do a lot of cross training. We went to Kuwait, did a lot of different types of just a bunch of drills and training. Since we were part of the MU, we were considered like the quick reaction force of the world.
Right.
So if anything happened when like in the world, like we were on standby and we just went. So we did that for 7 months. We came back about 2 weeks later. That's when Haiti happened. So we deployed in 2009, and I think we left in March of 2009.
So Haiti, that was the earthquake.
Yep, Haiti was earthquake. 2010. I think we left about 3 days after it happened. So we were called during leave, during our time on leave. Everybody got a phone call. I was like, hey, you guys need to pack your bags. Once everybody returns from leave, you guys have 3 days, and we're taking off. So that's what we did. We came off our leave for 2 weeks, just right off a 7-month deployment, and went right to Haiti. Within 3 days, we were down in Haiti.
What's interesting is that, I'm sorry. Please.
No, we were there for, I believe 4 months, 4.5 months. And there were so many different ships out there too. Like, just everybody was just helping. We had aircraft carriers, like, doing their air ops, launching helicopters to try to rescue patients. My unit, we were on the ground, and I was we were working alongside a civilian, United States civilian doctors,
right,
and basically helping out, triaging and taking care of patients. I think within the first week, 2 weeks, I ran out of medical supplies, me and my team. And it was just, we did what we had to do while we were out there, just makeshift splints out of like 2x4s, cloths, whatever we had, we just tried to do as much as we could.
What's awesome is to hear all of the training that you guys had done, the cross training between the Hellenic forces and the Kuwaiti forces, you name it. During that time, and all of a sudden here you are doing a peacekeeping mission in Haiti, to try to help out. In contrast to that, during my experience, 78, 79 in Lebanon, Beirut, the American embassy was under attack. The PLO was firing mortars at it. Matter of fact, a good friend of mine, I can't remember his name, but I knew him as Alabama, and he and I went to MSG school together.
Okay. And
so I went to visit him in Nicosia because he had been blown up by a mortar, and they put him there. But the Marines and no doubt corpsmen as well actually infiltrated from the sea, surrounded that embassy, stopped that battle, and just deterred everything until they got everything situated and back in order again before they left. But here he was in a hospital. And I jumped on a plane. It was a military hunt from Hellenic Air Base. They had an Air Force base there in Athens. So I jumped on that, flew over, and here he is, all got his arm up, leg up,
slings and stuff.
He's all bandaged up. But I walked in. He hadn't seen me in about a year and a half. And I walked over to him and I said, "I can't believe this, Alabama. Can't you? You didn't duck? Are you serious, dude?
Yeah.
You gotta stand by the window. Oh, they're shooting at us by the window. You gotta go look."
Yeah.
And he's going, So, but anyway, it was quite an experience. But to see that contrast in terms of what they're prepared to do, and what you guys do in peacetime as well as at a conflict.
Yeah.
So that was a fascinating thing. Then to have those MEUs out there is a world service.
It is. Like when I was with the infantry, we do my first tour in Iraq. It was pretty crazy, and then moved to the MU, And from there going on to Haiti, it was world of difference in every single thing that I did. And and then Iraq was considered the Wild West. It was just lawless out there. And then when we moved to Afghanistan, like after Haiti, I did my workups and trained for basically did all my training, then went to Afghanistan like about 10 months later. So there was really no downtime. Like I was literally doing back-to-back deployments, and then for 10 years straight, and then going into the reserves, and then doing one more deployment in the reserves before just finishing off my time and just retiring from there.
So you were a E6?
Yep.
Staff Sergeant.
Yeah, basically. So we call
Staff Sergeant, Marine Corps.
Yeah, Marine Corps. Hospital Corpsman, first class.
Hospital.
Third class. Yeah, third class was E4. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Cool.
So what was I have like so many questions.
Yeah.
With just that little bit. So what was your most valuable tool that you guys took away from your position with Navy Corps?
I saw some traumatic stuff, but most of my medical was probably popping blisters and putting moleskin on Marines on long hikes, because I was on the long hikes with them. If your main mode of transportation is your feet, you got to take care of them. So it's like if you don't have 2 pairs of socks on, you might get blisters. If you don't break in those boots before you go on these long hikes, you're going to get blisters. And if you get blisters, you're not going to be effective. So just little things like that. It puts a person out of action. The other tools that we had pretty much were prayer.
Yeah, I mean, for
most of the time it gets so traumatic. That's all there's left. So, but fortunately, I didn't have to do that much of praying.
Wow.
I think for me, it was like we were constantly, we're always constantly training, no matter what. We were out in the field one week and come back for a couple of days out for another field evolution, or then some of us we do follow-on classes like medical classes and stuff. There's always a constant training evolution for us, especially being a corpsman. Like there's so many different classes we were offered to go and do, like cold weather medicine, mountain warfare medicine. Like it's just you get these opportunities to do things that a lot of people never get to do. I know some of my other guys, some of my friends, they got to go to like assault climbers course, like basically learning how to transport patients like across like mountains and stuff, like via a rope line and a skid. This is, and then some cold weather training, like learning how to transport patients on skis or snowshoes through the mountain, through like slopes and snow. So I think it's we always got some kind of constant like training, and that we were given the opportunity to do.
Do you miss any of that?
I do miss it. It was I think for me being young and doing all this stuff, like it was an adrenaline rush. I kept volunteering to go back and do all these things. And like I was like, all right, well, I made it through one war, one deployment, let's go to the next one, until my contract's up. And then, after my contract was up after active duty, that's when I decided, transfer into the reserves, kind of live a, normal life. Like I was, divorced at the time, and I had 2 kids, and it became a lot harder, to get to see them and stuff. It takes a strain. So
anytime you're in the military, it's really tough on the family.
It really is. Yeah, it doesn't matter
the best
what
soldier or best sailor out there, but your family is left behind.
Yeah, and
they got to fend for themselves. If you're in Haiti doing that thing and they're at home and you got a problem, they got to fend for themselves.
Yeah, like I left my first daughter. She was born while I was in Iraq, and she was 9 weeks premature, and then my second daughter, she was born 2 weeks before I left for Afghanistan. So I was never home, and that's when I knew things needed to change, and I went to the reserves, and I mean it was a culture shock for me going to the reserves, like knowing going from war going to the reserves, and then doing civilian life. It was just crazy. I couldn't adjust well. My first 2 years, I'm not afraid to say it. I attempted suicide, and I know a lot of my friends have have done that, and were successful. I wouldn't say successful, but they
Yeah.
It's just,
I know I didn't go to war, but I'll tell you, when I got out, I went to university pretty much right away. And it took me 2.5 years before I could settle down to try to even remotely relate to these people that were my age. I was 25 years old.
Yeah, you matured so
So
quickly.
when I got out,
I couldn't relate to any of them.
I went to Western Illinois University. Now I'm like 23 years old, older than most of the freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah.
Even the junior college transfers, I'm older than them. And I'm bouncing off the walls. And I had like football eligibility left. I go to the football coach and I go, hey, I'd like to play. He goes, well, it's already the fall. You probably wouldn't play much. And I put my head down, was walking back to the dorms, and I passed the rugby field, and there's beer on the sideline. I go, who's that for? And I go, the players. I go, how do you play rugby? And I was able to get all that extra pent up energy that I had been trained to have, and I was able to release it.
Right.
And so that was a good outlet for me.
Well, to me, what ended up happening to me was during my time, the American embassy in Tehran, Iran, was taken over. Okay, the Marines were told, lay down your weapons. They became hostages for 444 days. I knew some of those guys. I went to school with them, and I knew some of the diplomats that were there. And so for me, now I got out. They were And he goes, what hostages? What do you mean, what hostages? The hostages in Iran. What hostages? They had no clue. I went ballistic because that was part of my coming home was I could not relate to the folks that had no clue what was going on anywhere in the world. They were only interested in what was going on around them. Yep. And we're like that today.
It is.
Even our cell phones and so forth, they could tell you more about what's going on with their friends than they can tell you about what's going on in Gaza. They don't even know where Gaza is. And with all this phenomenal information that you can get and so forth, they still don't know. But that was my big turnaround. And even the college kids, they couldn't relate to it.
So what helped you?
It just took a long time. What helped me was getting involved with taking courses in international relations. And it struck an interest, and I just devoured it.
And that makes sense, especially since you were with the embassy.
Yeah.
Working
that. Trying to figure out how to put into words what you had experienced. And so now I had an adoption. Oh, I understand. Now I see why this happened when I was on embassy duty. I got that, power analysis and so on. And I see it now. But eventually that kind of toned me down. And when I got into law enforcement, that was the element that all that adrenaline rush that I had from time to time, I had that for the next 20 years. I had more of a difficult time transitioning out of that than I did coming out of the
right. And I was thinking that, especially with Larry, because he served for 20 years and it was like nonstop for you.
Yeah, my first half of my of my career was it was nonstop. It was
the vacation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was. And then I think for me, I think what was best for me was having friends who've been there, done that with me alongside me and stuff. They, it helped transition later down the road, but my initial first year or 2 years, I just kind of shut myself off from everybody. So it was really hard. I was trying to adjust to work civilian life. Worked for a health insurance company for for a couple of years, and it was hard adjusting to that. I thought I was doing good, thought I was, and then started getting more agitated, more annoyed, and I'm like, oh man. And then that's when I kind of started seeking help. And realizing, the friends that I have, that were there by my side, during the wars and stuff, that those helped.
What's odd is what I can kind of relate to is that when you're in the military, the people that you have around you, you learn over a short period of time that you can rely on them. They can rely on you. You might get into arguments, you might get into tiffs, you might even get into fist fights. Yeah. But I'll tell you one thing: you guys will give your lives toward one another. Then all of a sudden you get out and you get into the civilian world. And it's dog eat dog. They talk about you behind your back. There's no loyalty. Yeah. Very little of any of that culture where, that in the military, they blow smoke for you. Hey, look what he did. And here they're going hey, look what I did. It's all about me, me, me. and that, that sort of thing as competing against you sort of thing. And so
Yeah.
where's the unity, and there's no us, it's only I, me. So that was a big transitional element for me, getting out of the military. That was the hard part.
Yeah. It was like, so I would do, I go to the VA, like sometimes I did like some of the groups and stuff or just, help with like PTSD and whatnot. And it almost seemed like it was a competition to see who done more.
Oh, right.
And I'm like,
right.
this is not what I'm here for. I'm like, I'm just here I'm here to talk about my feelings and stuff and just kind of help, work through it. But I kind of stopped going to these groups because it was just, some of it was like older groups of people, and it started becoming bitter and it just wasn't really worth doing it anymore. So it just, I thought I could depend on the VA to help me through some of these things. And no, it just wasn't there. And
Wow.
yeah. Everybody's experiences are different, with the VA. I like the healthcare is great over there in North Chicago, but like some of these groups, and like, I think I had like, and a lot of times, like I had these like these like interns, and they were just like, theirs was wanting to hear more of the story. I'm like, I'm not here for that,
Right.
So
Right.
they're like, oh man, this is fascinating. I'm like, tell me more about it. Like kind of live like vicariously through me. I'm like, no, man, I'm just like, yes, I'll tell you a little bit about it, but like, this is what I'm telling you this because this is what it's affecting, like how I'm affected by it.
I think you nailed it. Vicariously through me.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good words. Because that's what happens.
That's how I live my day, Rick. When I think about you and all those things that you've done in your life. What? I'm going to upgrade you to purple crayons.
I do. I like the purple ones best. There's no doubt about it.
Great. So what I thought when I was in the service was what cool equipment they have in the military. They got all kinds of crazy stuff. The first time I saw a Harrier jet, I'm in Okinawa, and there was a soccer field. We were doing PT, playing soccer and stuff. And they called us to the sideline, and I seen this jet go flying by, screaming really fast. And then it went out of sight, and it turns around, and it comes towards us, and it started slowing down. And I grew up in a little town called Medina, which is like 10, 15 miles from O'Hare Airport, and the airplanes come over you all the time. So you're used to these planes approaching and landing, and all of a sudden this plane is going to a speed, and I'm thinking, it's ready to fall out of the sky. Someone ought to say something. And it just pulls, and it just stops in midair right over the soccer field. And they found out there was ammo cans over there, or tanks, so they could fill up these planes. And it stops, it does a 180, and it lands. I'm going, this is science fiction stuff.
Yeah.
And then
pretty cool.
And then they fill it up, they go back up, the plane goes back up in the air, and it's just hovering there, and all of a sudden it's like a slingshot, and it's out of there. I'm going, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And they go, they got thousands of these things. And the next week I'm in this helicopter that has two blades on it, one in the front and one in the back, and it's curved like a sausage, and it's up there, and I'm going, these blades are going to hit. How come they don't hit? And I'm like, no, you're going to get on that thing. You're going to fly around, and then you're going to land, and you're going to walk. For
Is that the Osprey?
Yeah. No, that was a
Chinook.
CH-53.
Oh, you okay? 43.
The 47s. 47 was a Chinook.
CH-47.
Yeah, those are the Chinooks.
Yeah, that was kind of a cool helicopter. Flying around in them is not the most fun thing to do. It's good the first time you do it because you're flying going, wow, this is cool. There's like 60 of us back here.
Yeah.
You can see out the back. It's not a back window. You got a hatch that goes up and down. And it goes up halfway, and you can see outside. And we're flying around, and all of a sudden one day we hit an air pocket. Everybody that was in their little seat on the side, it's on the side of the plane. They put like these web seats on it.
Right.
And all of a sudden there's no seatbelts. We're on the ground, and we're supposed to wear our helmets, and all of a sudden we're up 10 feet in the air off our seats, and the next thing we're back down where we're sitting again. And then our helmet would follow us. And then when I got on the Navy side back when I was on the ships in Italy, the stuff they had there was just as crazy. I was on a ship that was a service station for submarines. They call it a sub-tender. Tender is a service ship, and the submarines would come up to us all the time. And these submarines were crazy. They had all kinds of top secret stuff. Don't go outside. Don't take pictures of this stuff. Some of them had twin screws on the back. Some of them had propellers. Some of them looked like corkscrews on the back of them. And we would set up buoys around the where the submarines were. The submarines would come up and they would tie up to these buoys, and then they would tie up one submarine, then another submarine, and they would have a little plank that you go from one submarine to the next submarine, then onto the ship. So one day all the submarines were gone, and we taken the water skiing boat, and we're using these buoys as like a slalom course, and we were having fun with it. A week later, a submarine comes in, and I'm doing the slalom course, and all the sirens go off. What's going on? Here? So I get back to the ship, and they go, Sweeney, the captain wants to see you. I go, I wonder why. So I go up there, and he goes, was that you water skiing by the submarines? I go, yes, sir. He goes, don't do it again. I go, okay.
That's why somebody didn't shoot you.
Yeah.
Actually,
Oh man.
it could have been. I mean, what was that? The coal, a ship that ran into the coal?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It could have been,
yeah.
water skis, but no, it wasn't. But yeah. So they were kind of nervous about getting too close to the ship. And some, those nuke submarines, they get real nervous.
They had the USS Philadelphia, which was a boomer, come into Halifax, and they tied up alongside over at Shearwater Naval Base. And I was told in briefing, hey, we have a new American nuke submarine here. We got your head and eyes on a swivel sort of thing. So good. So I got off work, and I had to drive right by Shearwater in order to go home. And I pulled in, and I got out of the car, walked over, still in my uniform, and there's this dude with a 870p shotgun walking the pier. I could see the top of the sub. It's, man, it's really cool. It was snowing. And I walked over to him, and he goes, you take another step, you're dead. I went, well, that was a nice little Hulk who goes there. So he goes, well, what do you want? I said, look, I'm a police officer. I'm also a United States Marine. I want a tour on the boat. And he goes, no. I said, yes. I'm not taking no for an answer. Get your boss. I want to talk to your boss. So he goes, so he gets his E5 out there. He goes, go home, get out of your uniform, take the gun off. Don't know any guns. Come back. I got a tour of that boat, forward to aft, every nut and bolt on it. The only thing I didn't see was the bank, the captain's quarters, and the nuclear power plant. And everything else I got a chance to see. And it was just, and over the cockpit area, it's just like Hunt for Red October. It's the same thing. I saw that same scene. I was looking at Periscope. I was like, man, can we shoot that? That's in Halifax. That's downtown Halifax, man. Let's shoot it. It's good. I want a submarine. Submarine 2, number 1. He goes, shut up. You put that thing.
I got to bring you to the Museum of Science.
It was fun. I was
there,
having a blast.
Oh, you boat. Yeah.
It's not my boat.
What about you, Larry?
Oh man. My ship life was fun. Like for me, I never got to tour a sub. Our ship did go into Portsmouth to the shipyards to get repairs done, and there was subs that were docked there, and they actually had Marines do security for it. So there was security everywhere, and they even had snipers up on like a smokestack like nearby.
That was serious.
Yeah, it was. I think there was 2 nuclear submarines there.
They
at the
take
time.
that nuclear stuff.
They're serious about that.
They do now.
Yeah, so that's the only time I see like Marines actually guarding an actual like vessel. It's when it's a submarine. So it's pretty intense. My ship's just there just to pull in, just to get repairs done. And
wow.
Yeah, there's nothing to do there in Portsmouth. That's another
Virginia Beach.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can do. Just go to Virginia Beach. Or drive up to DC, like it's only 3 hours away. Used to do a road trip there. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good little tour.
It is.
Yeah, that'd be a good place to go. Oh man.
Georgetown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of driving everywhere else aside from being there. So yeah, either that or I was running. I did a lot of running back in the days. So yeah, it was like a good way to tour the town and just kind of be out and about.
So did you have to service any Marines that were wounded in combat or anything of this nature?
Yeah, there's a couple times, like especially like vehicles hitting IEDs. You got to check out your patient, make sure there's no concussion or anything, or no other serious injuries. Same thing in Iraq. It was just regular like gunshot wounds, all that stuff. Things that you learn already in school. patch up the wound, all that stuff, treat the bleeding. We have a protocol that we follow, and we always say self-aid, buddy aid first. So like especially when we're a heavy firefight, we always direct our Marines to patch themselves if they're able to patch up themselves first before we can get to them. Like the quicker that you can, like a Marine can actually like take care of themselves and stop any type of like bleeding, that will help prolong the care better.
Right.
So that way, we can get to them and take care of them. Afghanistan, we had the golden hour rule. A lot of times, like we were able to get patients in and out of the battlefield within an hour, sometimes 30 minutes because of
That's amazing.
Because of Army medevacs and dust off. Those guys are amazing. They're always there for our guys who are like.
Have you ever done any statistical studies to compare that response time from that in Vietnam?
No, I mean I know there's studies out there, but I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what the difference is. I think Vietnam was a lot worse, right?
It was a lot worse.
Yeah.
And the time, it was not just an hour. It took like 4, 5, 6 hours, sometimes a day, depending on the circumstances. But to have that kind of a response and that kind of you're saving a lot of lives.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
We had a shipboard accident when I was in Sardinia, Italy, and the little island I was on, one guy got hurt, killed, 2 guys got hurt, and I had to take the 2 guys got hurt to Naples. So I had to take from our ship, I had to get on a smaller boat that brought us to the mainland of Sardinia. And then I took an ambulance to the airfield, got on a Learjet, took that over to Naples. The whole thing took about a couple hours, but it was arranged like in 5 minutes. Right after the accident happened,
that's pretty impressive.
Evacuate people, and then they left me there. I'm sitting in Naples going, I'm here. How do I get back? They go, patients in the ambulance. Yeah, so
Guess you're going out partying.
I found the guy with the Learjet. I go, can I get a ride back? He goes, okay. So I ended up hitching rides back all the way.
And you're a private jet going back?
And then I get back to the ship. They had a ceremony for the guy that died, and we went up to Genoa, Italy, and 3 days later, I'm snow skiing in the Alps. It was a weird week.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is.
Wow.
Like,
I know. That's the way the military is.
yeah. And when we were in the shipyards, we had a guy who actually jumped off the flight deck here, the top of the flight deck here, and killed himself. And
Ooh.
yeah, from the flight deck to like where the barge was, I think it was maybe like 60 feet. So it was not a good sight. So it's just we handle those situations on a regular basis. You just kind of adapt and overcome and just do what you can. And every single situation dictates what you need to do.
Yeah, and every day is different. One
It
day
is.
we're coming back from Sardinia, Italy to Norfolk, Virginia on this ship, and it was built in 1943. The thing's falling apart. It had 3 engines, and we ended up in Norfolk with only 1 working engine. We weren't going fast. But when we got through the Med, went through the Straits of Gibraltar, we were in the Atlantic, and they decided they're going to do swim call off of the big ship. They throw the net on the side. They put the big ramp down the side, and they go, Sweeney, you're lifeguard. I go, okay. They put me on this little boat, and there's the motorman, there's me, and a guy with the gun. And there's another guy there's 2 other guys up on the ship with guns. Yeah. And
Shark watch.
Yeah.
But if you ever go to the deep end of the pool, well, this was like the really deep end. Because it was over
Deep end of the earth.
And I'm going, if someone starts, what the heck am I going to do? I'm not going to swim down on my own. But everyone was okay.
Yeah, those were fun days. Yeah, we actually got a chance to do that as well. Those are pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then we had a little barbecue on the
Still beach
aft part of
picnic.
the boat.
Yeah.
Grand experience, very broad range of experiences.
Yeah.
That's the military for you. That's what's awesome about it. It's like the university of life.
Yeah, I think for us being foremen, we had a chance to be able to do all different types of things, like Navy side and Marine Corps side,
Right.
got to be on a ship, or we got to be on a plane or a helicopter one day, It's
When I was stationed at Great Lakes, I was setting bones, I was in the orthopedic department, setting bones, putting casts on people, taking X-rays. I remember one day someone came in and they had a pin in their toe because they somehow straighten the toe out and had to take that pin. I go, hey, this would be a good one. And so I took the pins out. It was kind of weird, different. It was. And now I'm an expert at it. Anyone with pins on their toes.
Yeah.
But it was something like
Everybody's got that.
Yeah, exactly.
the line starts there. But the experiences you get are just so vast.
It is.
And unexpected at times. And even in my civilian life after the service, I carried on some of the stuff that was going on. I was at a 4th of July party and someone started choking and I go, are you choking? And they go, yeah. And I go, I know the Heimlich maneuver. You want me to do the Heimlich maneuver? They go, yeah. And I did the whole thing and they were okay. And they said, thank you. And that was it. No war, nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, this is what you do. I've encountered, similar experiences where, like, I think on 2 different occasions, like somebody was having a seizure. I'm like, you can't really do much with a seizure. Let them kind of just ride it out. Yeah. And just turn them on their side, in case of their, them vomiting. Yeah.
Right.
But, it's just right place, right time. It's just.
Yeah, I had 2 other times that I had to do CPR. I'm better at the Heimlich maneuver.
Well,
we have to stop.
This is amazing.
I think we can keep
Like,
going,
how do you turn this off?
we can't. But we got the timer. We got the timer. So, but I do want to thank you guys for taking care of my Marines. So, for sure.
They take care of us.
Yeah, they do.
They're the ones that put their life on the line first.
Mm-hmm.
When we need to call in the Bulldogs, we call in the Marines. When we need someone just to give them a ride home, we call in the Navy.
Well, what gave us faith to do it was the fact that we knew that there were some good people behind us between our corpsmen and our chaplains. And both of those were naval personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And to have that, knowing we had the spiritual side, we had the physical side, we're in good hands. Gave us the faith to be able to carry on our mission.
But
that's awesome.
Being a Marine's dangerous. That's why they have so many Navy corpsmen assigned to the Marines, because those guys get hurt first.
Yeah.
I think any given battalion, I think we're assigned where there are a lot of 70 corpsmen just for, to make up each of the companies. We have 5 companies when I think we have 4. We have 5 companies, within the battalion. So you have headquarters and, you got your 3 line companies and you got a weapons company. So, you need at least 10 for each of those companies. So,
Well, speaking of the Marine, I want to thank you both for your service.
Yes.
And serving our country, serving us, the Marine Corps, and taking care of business.
It was an honor and a pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. Thank
Yeah,
you guys
appreciate
for
it.
being on the show. We have a gift for you from Firehouse Subs. And we did have a giveaway. I forgot I was going to do a giveaway, and I don't even know if my email, N for new, it's NLMO, New Life Ministry Outreach, giveaways.
definitely a mouthful. Definitely a mouthful.
You're number 7. If you even get through, I'll be surprised.
Yeah. I think I missed the letter.
We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Okay. So run it by me again. You're thinking of having a podcast, right? But maybe you don't know how to start a podcast, or maybe you don't know what platform to be on. I know. There's a lot. But maybe you also don't know what kind of budget you'll need, right? Okay. Well, how about this? 216 Creator Studios. Ring a bell? Okay, well, here. There you can buy a pre-built show. Or, better yet, you can build your own show. Have all the creativity in the world. And the best part about that, it can be all done within your budget. So, no worries. How about this? Start here. Just go to 216creatorstudios.com. And I guarantee you, they will help you find your voice.